reach,
inspire,
and transform. NASM Optima 2021 Virtual Conference.
our biggest and best Optima yet.
3 full days of learning.
More than 100 virtual sessions.
Inspiring speakers you can't miss.
Challenging workouts to master your skills.
Nutrition and lifestyle facts.
The best community network.
And for the first time ever, with free full online access.
At Optima 2021.
Find out more and register today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Random Fit. I am Wendy Batts, and I am here with my friend and colleague, Mr. Ken Miller. Ken, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Just living a dream.
Of course you are.
Today, we get to talk about breaking the fitness plateaus. And I know personally myself, I hear this from my clients all the time. Wendy, I've been working out consistently for 2 to 3 times a week for now 3 or 4 months. And I started seeing some, improvement. I liked how I was feeling. I do have more energy. However, I don't think I look any different. And so I get that often. Ken, I'm sure you probably do as well.
Yeah. I mean, and you definitely get a lot of the same comments. It's about how they look, right? I've lost a certain amount of weight, or I've put on a certain amount of muscle, but I am not changing. And that's what comes up a lot, especially in the health club and gym environment. But I'm sure you hear this a lot too, Wendy. It's like, I'm not running any faster, just as how can I get faster? How can I jump higher? How can I last longer into the golf game? So there's also a performance side of breaking plateaus, as I'm sure you've heard that as well. So I think when it comes to today, we're gonna address it more. Well, I guess on both sides, right? How you look and how you feel and how you perform when it comes to trying to break through your regular workout routine.
Yes, there are changes that should occur. And that's one thing that, you start to find these exercises that you love and you're like, oh my gosh, when I started, I was so sore. And then now you're not quite as sore as you were when you first began. So there is something to be said with that. And I think the number one thing that we should start with is let's look at your routine, because as you continually become fitter, or feel like you're getting more energy, or your performance is, you're starting to see some gains, you really need to think every 4 to 6 weeks, your body's going to adapt to it, whatever it is that you're doing to it. So then you're going to have to start increasing your intensity maybe a little bit more, and then thinking about maybe the exercises and be sure to switch those up. Sounds simple.
It is. It is one of those things, and I know, speaking from experience, having worked in the gym, you go to the gym and you see those same regulars day in, and I know you see it too, Wendy, like the person that shows up at 5 o'clock in the morning or at 5 o'clock at night, and exactly what piece of equipment that they're going to be on and when, right? They have their set routine, they have their favorites, as you mentioned. And they do it day in and day out and day in and day out. And you see that same person doing the same thing from January through December. And now kudos to them for actually coming in and working out and being consistent and doing something to better themselves every day. But when you do the same thing over, and I know you've seen it, right? They get onto the seated chest press, and then they go onto the seated row, and then they gonna do on the leg press or do some kind of lunges, and then they go to the dumbbell rack and they do their curls and they do their overhead presses. And just as they came in at 5 o'clock, they're out at 6 o'clock, right? They're so routine in that way. Their sets and their reps, their exercise selection, all that is the same. So the easiest way to break things up is do something else, right? You can stick with the same motions is one of the things I might say, but if you did, instead of a seated chest press, you did a dumbbell press or a cable press, even if the time constraints are the same, just changing the format and looking at the routine from that vantage point is, okay, how can we mix things up, especially from an exercise selection standpoint? That's one of the easier things to to do to kind of break that chain of monotony, I guess I'd say.
And I think you did a great job providing that example, because when I tell people switch it up and they're like, well, Wendy, I need to do my chest. I'm like, well, exactly. And to your point, Ken, if you're always doing a barbell chest press, if you were to stand up and do a cable chest press, you're going to have a different demand placed on your core. You're going to be using the muscles a little bit differently. The resistance is coming from behind you, so you're having to really press and then control it on the way back. There are a lot of different things that are changing, even though it's still a pressing motion. And so that's one thing I really try to make my clients understand. We switch it up all the time. However, I usually give them a certain amount of reps that I want them to accomplish, and they need to have a certain tempo, meaning a certain speed. When they're pushing out, I want them to push out a little bit quicker, pause, and then come back nice and slow. So therefore, I can make sure that their form doesn't break. They can, quote, own that particular rep as well as that set. And then I can make adjustments as needed, just to make sure that I'm not feeding into a compensation and they really are maximizing that set and each and every rep within that set in order to do it correctly. And then we're going to start to see gains. And that's the one thing I want people to understand is, if you do the same thing, to your point, your body will get used to it and it stops really changing. But if you're always doing, let's say, the barbell one day because that's what you want to do, then the next time you come in, you do the cable, and then you do dumbbells, and then maybe you do some tubing, and again, really focusing on your form and technique. Those are all different, even though you're still utilizing the same muscles.
Right. And from a gym membership standpoint, if you're a member of a gym, you know what, you're paying for the whole gym, right? You pay, your membership covers not just the selectorized equipment, so those fixed pieces of machinery where you have typically a weight stack and you're pressing on some bar or pulling on a bar, but you're paying for the whole gym. Why not use the whole gym? So like you mentioned, Wendy, if there's bands, if there's tubings, if you have cable machines on top of the selectorized equipment, if you have dumbbells, you're paying for the whole gym. Use it. And one of the things that I tell people is, a lot of gyms and health clubs will have, let's say, an introductory 1 session or a 2 session where you're connected with a trainer. The floor trainer is one way you might call it, or a personal trainer to help orient you to the facility, and full on take advantage of that. Because, for one, it's a safety issue, because who knows, if you've never had instruction before on the equipment, having that second set of eyes. So Wendy, like you're saying, you have your clients do a certain modality one day and then a different modality another day. They can actually tell you, how to use the other pieces of equipment properly, but they can also give you some guidance on form and technique. So I know we haven't really talked about form and technique, but if I am exercising with this poor posture, heads forward, shoulders forward, and I'm going to use a certain set of muscles to do that, whether right or wrong, but just by having somebody look at you and maybe telling you, hey, once you get your chest up a little bit, get your shoulders back, get your head on top of your rib cage so that, you can be in the best position possible. And I'm sure you've seen this, Wendy, but just by getting somebody to stand in a different posture, in a different position, even if it's the same exercise that they've done day in and day out, or a new exercise, but same motion, sometimes, well, I'll say almost all the time, and I'm not an all or never guy, but just by changing body position and getting into the better, safer position is enough to make your muscles react differently, right? So if you've been exercising with your head forward and doing all that, you're going to use the wrong muscles. But if I am tall, upright, I'm going to use the right muscles. So the bigger muscles are going to do more work. So you might even find yourself doing more work just by changing your position.
I agree. And if you guys are just joining us, I'm Wendy Batts. I'm here with Ken Miller, and we are talking about breaking the fitness plateaus. So far, change up your routine. Don't do the same exercises. One thing I also like, especially if they're a weight loss client, or you had mentioned running, or somebody that wants to work on maybe some cardio, I always throw in some different types of like sprinting mechanics. And, if they're running all the time, one thing that you can do is maybe put them on a rower for like 30 seconds. And as hard as they can do, maintaining proper positioning, or putting them on a bike. I know the assault bike really, I have people, and for those of you guys that don't know what an assault bike is, it's the one with the big fan on the front, and you've got the arms and you're pushing it as fast as you can in the hands, as well as using your feet. It really is a full body type piece of equipment. And if you're doing it for sprints or just what I call a metabolic blast, you're really increasing the heart rate very, very quickly. And then at that point, giving them a short rest. And then we go right back into our workout. And I suggest, especially if you are weight loss and you really want to start to see some changes, besides just changing up the actual exercises, throwing in some of maybe those 30 seconds at a time, whether it's on a piece of equipment, a mountain climber, anything that you want to do that you think would, quote, be really hard, and throw that in your routine. But then also too, give yourself the recovery and relax, but just do different things every time you go in. I think you're really going to start to see some of the changes that you want. But one really important part, Ken, and I know we talked about it because you and I are really big believers in this, is you can work out as hard as you want and you can kill yourself at the gym. You can kill yourself with your diet, meaning like you're really, really focused on this. And then you sleep for 2 or 3 hours. You've got a lot of stress at work. You've got so much stuff going on the to-dos, and then you don't recover at all.
Right. And that winds up being the bigger piece, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about, let's just talk about one component right now, sleep, right? And sleep, and we've talked about this a lot in another episode. So again, that just is testament to how important sleep is, because you can do everything you need to give your body the stimulus necessary to change your body composition, perform better, right? And feel better. But unless you get that sleep, where again, that deeper sleep, that REM cycle that you get over, a nice solid night's rest, that's when the hormones are excreted, growth hormone, insulin, everything that it takes for your muscles to grow. And a lot of that's going to happen when you sleep. So unless you're taking advantage of that nighttime aspect of your recovery, then nothing else really matters, right? So I've said this before, I've canceled clients when I figured out that they had an all-nighter, right? Whether they had a project to do or they had finals to study for. They text me at 3 a.m. saying, you know what, I'll be there. I'm just going to be really tired. And I'm like, save it. Don't even bother coming in. Sleep in that extra 2 hours. I'll catch you tomorrow, or, we'll reschedule. But the recovery aspect is huge. Yeah, I know. I'm one of those guys. I'll cancel you, but
I'll cancel you too. But I don't usually get the, I was up all night studying. I get the, I went out last night and I lost track of time.
Oh, that's
so
the other.
I tell them the same
way.
thing.
Yeah.
We're going to cancel this, but when you come into the gym, you better be ready, because it's fair game at that point. We need to make it a priority, and that's one thing I really do live by. It's a lifestyle change. And so you have to, pay for your actions, good, bad, or indifferent. So yes, recovery, very, very important. And that kind of falls along in my book, along with managing stress. If you can really try to get yourself into the gym, it's a good time to blow off steam. Check everything at the door, meaning all the drama that you've got going on, all the stuff at work, everything that you've got, because everyone's got stuff going on, everyone. And if you can kind of put that aside, focus on yourself and really what you need to feel better and move better, get a good workout, get a good night's rest, and really try to work on, meditation. We did another episode on meditation and the importance of really trying to clear your mind. So therefore, when you look back on the stuff that's stressing you out, some of it is out of your control and you're stressing over something that maybe, you can't control. And so when you kind of put it into perspective, it will help minimize that stress. But to your point, sleep is also going to help. When you go to bed stressed out and you get a really good night's rest, oftentimes when you wake up, your attitude's different. You feel better. And some of the stuff that was worrying you so much the day before really isn't quite as bad the next day. So I think all of that plays a big, it all works together. Imagine that.
Yeah. Funny how that works. Now, again, when you bring up stress, you can't forget cortisol, right? That is the catabolic hormone. So when you're stressed, you're anxious, Your cortisol is high, which again, there is an inverse relationship between cortisol and growth hormone and the anabolic hormones. So if one's high, the other one's not going to be as high. So as long as your stress hormones are up, your hormones that promote muscle growth, that's going to be down, right? So managing stress, Wendy, a lot of people don't give it enough credit as far as being able to pause, be in the moment, acknowledge what you can change and acknowledge what you cannot, and then deal with it accordingly. And people that have problems with that process, and I'm one of them, right? Figuring out, okay, what change can I affect today with this situation? It's like, once you figure it out, it's like, there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm just going to, move on to the next thing. That has really made, that makes a difference in the quality of sleep, right? Because if you're in bed and your mind's racing, that's going to affect the quality of sleep, right? Either you have a decreased duration of sleep, but also maybe a decreased intensity of sleep. But overall, if you're stressed out, you're not doing your body any good, because of the hormonal effects when it comes to the recovery side. And again, if your hormones aren't there to help build muscle, it's actually there to break down tissue, and that's going to affect how well you get over that plateau that you're trying to get over. So big part of it is just addressing the mental side, and getting over a plateau could be just maybe your routine is good, maybe your diet and your nutrition, your hydration's right. But if the mental side isn't there, then it is going to be a cascade of events that kind of takes you one way versus the direction that you do want to go.
Yes. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about breaking the fitness plateaus with Wendy Batts and Ken Miller on Random Fit. And, Debbie Downer over there was talking about the cortisol and how if you don't get a good night's rest and you can't manage your stress,
Debbie Downer.
Trying to keep this positive, Ken.
Yeah, exactly.
To do or not to do. That is yes, that is the question. And so one of the big ones, and here goes my Debbie Downer, is you really should try to avoid alcohol, because alcohol is a lot of empty calories. You're going to feel like garbage the next day if you drink too much.
Mm-hmm.
I know with football season around the corner, this is my time of year where I really have to be very aware of what I'm eating and drinking. And so, just trying to avoid it, minimizing how much you are drinking. If you do want to have a couple cocktails, we're not saying don't do that, but just know that if you're not hitting your fitness goals, you've got to look at the well-rounded picture. Look at what you're eating. So tracking your food, I think, is really big. People don't like to do it, but guys, if you can really understand portion sizes and realize how much more you may be eating, then it's a big I thought I was only eating 1,200 calories. It comes out when I actually had someone help me with portion sizes, I'm eating 2,500 calories. And that's a significant difference if you're not moving as much as you want, because you will plateau. And I know, Ken, one thing that we really want to talk about, and I think you can actually help explain this probably better than I can,
I don't know about
is that if you start at a certain weight and you haven't really been working out, you start to see these changes pretty quickly. You're going to start to see within 2 to 3 weeks that your body's changing shape, you're
Mm-hmm.
having more energy. But if you don't adjust your diet as you start losing more weight and gaining more, lean muscle mass, or gaining weight, if that's what you're trying to do, but you don't adjust your calorie intake or your programming, you're also going to plateau, and it's not always for the better.
Right. And again, going back to the body composition aspect of breaking plateaus, a lot of people don't realize that, if just for round numbers sake, if you're 200 pounds, no offense to 200 pounders out there, but if for simple math, because I need nice round numbers, if you're 200 pounds when you start working out, but then, you think you're moving 200 pounds around, right? Whether you're walking, lifting weights, doing squats, you have to move 200 pounds around. But as soon as you start spending the calories and energy, now you're 195 pounds, and now you're 190 pounds. So you're moving less weight around, which also means you're doing less work, right? So you're not spending as much energy to move that extra 5 or 10 pounds that you had when you first started. So just by losing weight, if we're talking about body weight exercises, cardio, running, jogging, things like that, you might see a plateau because your body's not doing as much. You don't have the original stimulus you had to initiate the change, so you do have to do something different from that vantage point. And I think that's where you were going, Wendy. I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought. So
I wanted you to do the math today. I'm like,
I was like, that's as math as I get. 200 pounds, 190 pounds. But so there's a lot less work to do. But that also means that you're also, it's about the muscles are going to change. They're going to get more dense. The connective tissue has to build up in their integrity. Their nervous system is taking up a lot of energy, especially if you're adding, cognitive training type of exercise, like throwing math problems. So if I'm working with a client, I'll throw math problems. I'll say, do you remember
what?
I'll throw in some math numbers. Math.
It better be easy.
Well, it'll be like, all right, Wendy, do your push-ups, and I want you to do. Do you remember your phone number growing up?
I do.
Okay, yeah. So I'll say, okay, recite it in your head going forward as you are doing your push-ups, and then as you get to that, all right, you got that down. All right, now recite it backwards. Right. So I'll add some thinking.
Yeah, I wouldn't do well with you.
or like doing the alphabet. You do the alphabet A to Z, and then you go from Z to A while you're doing lunges or something like that.
Yeah. All right.
Just to make it interesting, right?
Well,
but it's also
super personal story, but my dad actually had to go to his doctor this week, and one of the questions when he was getting ready to do whatever they were doing, which, I mean, he's a man who's like in his 80s, so you can imagine what kind of testing was going through. His doctor told him to count from 100 and then subtract 7 all the way down. And so he was like, what? And so that way he wasn't thinking about what the doctor was doing. But I'm like, I would have to start using my fingers. I don't know. Like, I'm just not that good of just minimizing 100 minus 7, minus 7 as I go down. Like, that's just too hard for me. Make life easy.
I could get to 93.
I know, right? Me too. I'm
86. No, is that right? 86.
Anywho, back on topic.
Breaking plateaus. Do math when you're working out, and those pounds will melt away.
Oh, that's it.
So adding some, just different stimulus. Again, if I'm getting the muscles, connective tissue, why not the neurological, right? Just get the brain thing, because you do spend a lot of calories when you do think, right? So adding a cognitive part of things as well. So, and that will also add to the initial, drop of, if we're talking body composition, the drop of weight, because you spend so much energy changing the body's got to go through a lot of changes. It takes calories to do that. So once you've plateaued, you get that 6-8 weeks into the program, and like now the weight isn't coming off as fast as it did initially. Well, there was a lot of things at play. Your body had to make the changes, and it took a lot of calories to do it. Plus, you're also moving a lot less weight than you did when you first started working out, right? So a couple of things at play that, people don't realize. You got to keep challenging the body to keep what you started happening.
Right. Plus, you got to think you become more efficient as your body gets used to actually moving. It really needs to be challenged more and more. So that's why when we tell people, if you stay within a certain, rep range, meaning if I say I want you to do 12 reps and I want you to go nice and slow, I may be working more on your stabilization system. If I say do, 8 reps and I want you to lift a little more load, still maybe moving the weight a little bit faster, lifting heavier, it's because I know that you've got a good foundation. I know that you're going to be able to move, and then we can start building more on your strength, or more on your strength endurance, and then working more on your size and going up kind of our OPT NASM model that we talk about. There is a process that's been researched to show, just challenging your muscles every 4 to 6 weeks, when you know that you've kind of owned what you've been doing, you're going to start to see these gains all the way up from stabilization to power. It's just, you've got to be creative. You've got to be smart in your programming. Somebody's going and having a really bad day at the gym, but you've got a lot of compensations. Your neck is sore, your shoulders are rounded, your back hurts. And then you start lifting really heavy or going to throw something against the wall. That's not going to help anything. And you really aren't going to start to see anything other than maybe more pain than you should have after your workout. You're not able to recover as much. And then it could have potential setbacks into your workout routine, especially, that's not the route you want to go. So you want to be very smart, but just, increase the load sometimes, change it up, get some good sleep. And another one that I want to tell people is, this is a big one that I stress to my clients, is please just stay off the scale. I have a scale at my house, and I, was weighing myself all the time. And it was like, man, I really, I ran really hard yesterday. I worked out really hard today, and you're not seeing a change. But like every 7 days, so like every Sunday, I was like, okay, I'm going to not look at it for 7 days. And then I started to see just, small changes. I could tell that I looked differently, but I didn't notice these significant numbers when I was really focusing on everything that I ate, everything that I was doing in the gym, as well as on my cardio. But if I were to take measurements and did circumference measurements of what my arms are, my chest, my hips, whatever it is, I would have seen a big difference. So if you're a trainer working with someone, I always tell people, take measurements, because the scale, it's going to fluctuate, especially being a female. You're going to fluctuate, and it's unfortunate, but don't look at the number. Look at how you're, this is a big one. And I say this virtually on our Facebook page all the time. Put on the one pair of jeans you want to get in, and take a picture of yourself trying to get on them. And then every month, try to put those same pair of jeans on and see if you can see progression. One day you may get in them. If not, you need to donate them and try again.
You know how many zippers and buttons I would break if I try to.
I said try. I didn't say force. I didn't say start tucking in the fat. I just said try.
It's like it won't get past my thighs. Yeah, and that is a great point. As far as using other modalities to look at body composition, as you're talking about. So it's not just about density on a scale. And that's all the scale does, is look at how much mass is on top of it, right? But I did have a client, one of my first clients. I think I brought her up before, but her name was Lori, one of my first clients when I moved back home to San Diego. And I trained with her for a couple years, actually. And when I changed facilities, I got promoted, got put in charge of another newer facility, and she didn't want to make the move with me because it's, a little bit farther. But when we reassessed her at the end, from beginning to end, she had lost a total of she lost 3 pounds on the scale. But when we looked at her body composition, and we used the tape measure for that, we estimated that she lost 11 pounds of fat, but had put on 8 pounds of lean tissue. And she did, right? And what that looked like, as far as what she wore, was that she went from a size 10, 12 down to a 2, 4, right? So, but that was with a net difference of 3 pounds on the scale, right? So, and that's with, watching things like, she walked in with one day with a big gulp of soda. I'm like, oh, you decided to indulge today. Then she says to me, it's like, no, I do this every day on my drive home. I'm like, all right, first of all, we're going to cut that, right? And you're going to do, drink water, do something else. But, just to look at, her husband didn't like me much because she had to basically get a whole new wardrobe from when she first started training with me to the end. But, overall is, if she depended on the scale, she would have been very, very, very disappointed because it was only 3 pounds of difference. But overall, she went from let's say a 10 to a 2. And that's the power of making body composition changes and looking at something else other than the scale.
A 10 from a 2, huh? Usually you want to go from a 2 to a 10, but in this case, definitely when you're talking about sizes of clothes, yes. If you want to do weight loss, you're going.
That's the extent of my knowledge when it comes to clothing, outside of large and extra large.
That's just, that was really bad humor right there. Well, you always say, oh, you know what? She was a 10 when you left with her. You woke up and she was a 2. Have you heard that one? Just kidding. Anywho, moving on. So yes, and of course, diet's going to play a huge role, because you can work out, you can really focus on what you're doing when it comes to cardio and everything, but your nutrition is super, super important. And again, if you're not sure what to eat, that's when you should refer out. Go talk to a registered dietitian. Maybe look into a certified nutrition coach through NASM. They would be able to provide you with some good guidelines to think about and try. But you guys know, just what you put in your mouth. Just think, is this a good idea? And if you're like, oh, I know I shouldn't do this, then maybe indulge a little bit and think about that too. So if you're doing everything on the physical side that you can, you have to look a little bit deeper into yourself when it comes to your nutrition. But, all in all, I think we probably provided some good good tips, with sleep being a part of that. So I'll give you a recap. This is my recap. Tell me what
I was just going to say, Wendy, what are the takeaways here?
Key takeaways. Number 1, change up your workout routine, meaning change the exercise selection that you're doing. Maybe slow your tempo down a little bit. Focus on bringing in your abs, squeezing your glutes, having really good posture, and really think about executing the particular, if we're doing a chest press, the particular movement throughout its full range of motion. Be present in the moment that you're in the gym. Manage your stress. Watch your diet. Change up your cardio a little bit. Do something different. If you don't like it, the reason you don't like it is because it's hard. So maybe try the stuff you don't like, because the more that you do it, your body will start to adapt. You're going to have to burn more calories. If you really want to challenge yourself at the gym, apparently you need to do math, according to Ken. I, on the other hand, don't do math. I just focus on the things that I can focus on to be successful, because I like positive. And don't get on the scale every day. Don't do that to yourself. Don't
do that. Just save yourself the anxiety.
Save yourself.
Yeah. Take out the batteries, whatever you need to do. Good takeaway. Basically, you took mine. So have fun. Sometimes you need to bump it up, and don't be afraid to get a trainer. Somebody with different insights, scout them out. A lot of good guys out there that can definitely help you, break through a plateau, get your body realizing some changes. Sometimes it's, creativity doesn't all have to come from your own head. It can come from somebody else's experience and knowledge and background to help you change things up. And, do that every once in a while. But sometimes, hey, you know what? Guidance is, guidance, a little help. It's okay to ask for help. Yeah. Help me, help you.
Help you.
Yeah, that's exactly. Right. That's right. That's my takeaway. Help me, help you.
Yes.
So thanks, Wendy. That was some good stuff today. I think I'm going to go do a different routine today from my usual bench press, squat, and power cleans.
Oh, wow. Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
According to your posture, I would say that would be a really good idea.
Oh, hold on. Just sit upright a little bit. All right. So
always assessing, Ken.
I know. Hey, the camera does add 10 pounds, and it does add a forward head and forward shoulder, just so we're all on the same page.
Yes.
So another great episode, Wendy. Thank you so much for your expertise and sharing your experience with us here on Breaking the Fitness Plateaus. So for you guys listening and watching on YouTube, thank you so much for coming back for another episode of Random Fit through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. Again, with Wendy Batts, me, myself, Ken Miller. If you like what you listen to, like, follow, subscribe, comment, let us know what you want to hear, because we are here to please. So until next time, everybody, take care and be well.